Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and check out our co-sponsor CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. And finally, check out our altar sleeves. You can support the show here by using the code MAGICMICS at checkout for 5% off anything in the store, including a set of exclusive sleeves featuring the Magic Mics crew at altersleeves.com/magicmics. I'm Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
Happy Wednesday.
Ruben Bressler.
Hey, everybody. I love how high-pitched Evan gets when he says, altar sleeves. It goes way up there for that. And now also time. Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Well, we kick it off with our first pick and the giveaway. Get your chance at a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com by typing !raffle in the chat, but subscribe first to get 2 chances to win. And don't forget our raid at the end of the show to support a member of the community. Enter your suggestions at the end of the show to see who we raid tonight. And it is time to talk about lots of previews. We are once again mixing our chocolate and our peanut butter. Our standard sets and our Modern Horizons are together. They're here.
Yeah, we're previewing all the cards at the same time again.
It's funny that you say that because I've still never had Nutella before, so I don't...
You gotta have that experience.
We
talk about lanyards for 5 minutes, and the woman hasn't had one bite of Nutella in her life.
Had chocolate and peanut butter together?
I mean, I've had Reese's, but it's not the same as Nutella.
Nutella
it's hazelnut.
It's the hazelnut. It's fine. The point is, they are mixing the previews, and that's okay. I think, and we talked about this earlier, was when you're mixing the Commander previews and standard set previews, it's harder to tell them apart.
Yeah.
These are clearly the Modern Horizons 2 stuff and the D&D stuff.
Yeah, that helps. The fact that the power level is so different and also the theming is so different is really helpful in keeping these two separated.
Right.
But also, we go months at a time without anything to talk about. Why are we doing both sets at the same time? I still don't understand like what the thought process is, but...
Yeah, it seems like it could be done a little bit better. But either way... we're going to get started here by talking about some D&D cards, and we'll talk about Modern Horizons 2 here in a second.
We're not going to talk about the thing involving our sponsor?
Oh, we can absolutely discuss the Mythic Frames from Altar Sleeves is happening. That's a Kickstarter from our wonderful sponsor, Mythic Gaming, I think they call themselves at this point.
Mythic Frames, yeah,
Right.
Mythic Gaming. So Altar Sleeves is branching out into Mythic Frames to where you can sleeve your entire deck with these really nifty sleeves. I got the chance to hang out with them. They're based out of Madison, actually. It's a family-owned business, and I got the chance to hang out with them last weekend, including my friends Tappy Toeclaws and Olivia Gobert-Hicks. And I gotta be honest, I was a little skeptical when this product first came out because I remember. But I was like, you know what? This is our sponsor, and I'm just going to smile and nod, be a good professional podcaster. But I have to say, after actually getting to use them, I have been converted. They were kind enough to give me the Graveyard Gang set, which is amazing. And I also picked up a copy of the Goblin Blades set as well for my Goblin deck. So they did make their Kickstarter goal. Their goal was 64,000. They're currently sitting at about 114,000. The frames are awesome. They are Aaron Campbell approved. And so if you do want some really cool insert sleeves for your deck, I encourage you to check them out. And they have about a dozen different styles you can choose from. There's an Eldrazi version with Ashlyn Rose. There's a green version with Aaron Miller. There's a artifact version that I think Olivia worked on. And so whatever kind of deck you're into, there's a nice little sleeve for you. And they're really, really nice.
Yeah, they're absolutely terrific. So go check those out if you're interested in those. Move back here to our first pick. So talking about the D&D set, Ruben, tell me about this Spider Queen.
Okay, Lolth. We're starting with Lolth.
Lolth.
All right, so Lolth, praise Lolth in the chat for the Queen of Spiders, otherwise known as the Queen of the Demon Web Pits. She's one of the most influential goddesses of the Drow, who are the Dark Elves, and she is a lesser deity, I would say, although... she's worshipped by an entire race of people. She's a chaotic, evil Queen of Spiders.
Well, Lolth Spider Queen is a mythic in the D&D set for 2 black and 3 generic mana. It has 4 loyalty counters on it, and it says whenever a creature you control dies, put a loyalty counter on Lolth Spider Queen. Note that's a creature, not a non-token creature. That's any creature.
I'm listening.
For 0 colon, I know, right? For 0 colon, you draw a card and lose a life. -3, create 2/2/1 black spider creature tokens with menace and reach. And for -8 colon, you get an emblem with, quote, whenever an opponent is dealt combat damage by one or more creatures you control, if that player lost less than 8 life this turn, they lose life equal to the difference. And note that damage causes loss of life.
That's a lot of words.
That's a lot of words. That's a whole... Is that like... And so, I'm asking you, Ruben, as someone who understands this character, does it have anything to do with Lolth and D&D? Does any of these abilities make any sense?
Oh, absolutely. Lolth is the Spider Queen. She makes spiders. In 8 life, they have 8 legs.
Okay.
She isn't technically a god, and I saw a lot of people saying, why isn't Lolth a god card? Why is she a planeswalker? Technically, she's a demon. She's a demon lord of spiders, and worshipped as a goddess by many, including the Drow. And so I think it makes sense for her to be a planeswalker. She also draws energy from that worship, and specifically from death, being an evil-ish deity. And so her followers getting stronger that way. It makes sense. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that the flavor of this card matches perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it feels like this isn't a card for constructed Magic. This feels like a very sort of casual-based card. You have combos you can work with it. Like,
I mean, it's card advantage. It goes in all the Liliana spots that Liliana Dreadhorde General would go in. Like, this is an effect that a lot of control decks are interested in.
I think from the sideboard, I could see it. Definitely making 2 spiders that have the ability to block them and whatnot. Yeah. But let's move on here to it's Bruenor. Is that right? Bruenor, thank you. Bruenor Battlehammer is a white, a red, and 2 generic mana for a 5/3 uncommon legendary dwarf warrior. Each creature you control gets +2/+0 for each equipment attached to it, and you may pay 0 rather than pay the equip cost of the first equip ability you activate each turn. And this also shows our rulebook showcase frame. Ruben, how do you feel about that one?
The rulebook showcase is my favorite. I love.
Is it just me, or like I kind of wanted them to sort of have the same typeface too? The original D&D, like I don't know.
Yeah, but then you might run into a Hazard the Pervert situation.
Right?
Yeah. We don't want that.
I'm happy with what we got with the tan frames. Bruenor is in the party of adventurers that are with Drizz't Duerden, who we'll talk about in a minute. He is the king of the Mithril Hall. He's just like a classic dwarf fighter.
Nice.
I will say I was a little disappointed that they're going back to the well of making red-white care about equipment. It was really nice to get a taste of Lorehold and seeing how they were doing different things with the Boros colors. And, to go back here, it's like, okay, we get it. You want us to care about equipment.
I mean, his name is Bruenor Battlehammer.
No,
right?
Totally. It has nothing to do with the character. It has to do with the fact that we're back to this color combination doing something that we feel we've seen time and time again. And we really, for a while there, we felt like we were going to see some new things. And it's like, oh, all right, I guess that's over already.
You got spoiled by Strixhaven. It's time to come back to good old-fashioned equipment, red, white, whatever.
Care about equipment. You're going to like it.
Whee! All right, so let's talk about what, Ruben, arguably is the most exciting character from D&D to show up in MTG.
Yeah.
This is Drizz't Duerden?
Close enough. We're good.
You should make Evan say this.
It is tough to... Yeah, so Drizz't.
Drizz't.
Say D-R-I-T and then say S-T.
Drizz't.
There we go. Drizz't Duerden. Is an absolutely legendary figure in the history of Dungeons and Dragons and the Forgotten Realms. Just be thankful I'm not making you say any other
you should though, Evan. There's a very important token that I would love to hear Evan's perspective on.
I'm guessing that's Guinevere. Is it some weird way to say Guinevere?
It's close. Yeah, you can say Guinevere.
Okay. Well,
Guinevere. It's close enough.
Drizz't Duerden is a white, a green, 3 generic mana for a 3/3 rare legendary elf ranger, our first ever ranger in Magic the Gathering.
Good.
Which is awesome. It has double strike, and when it enters the battlefield, you create Guinevere, a legendary 4/1 green cat creature token with trample, and whenever a creature dies, if it had power greater than Drizzt's
Drizz't.
And it's plural, so it's Drizzt's power. Put a number of +1/+1 counters on Drizzt's equal to the difference. I don't want to ever say that name again. I'm going to screw that up every time.
Drizz't
I feel terrible already.
So Drizz't is an epic fantasy character from the Icewind Dale and Crystal Shard and many other novels. Probably the most well-known of the characters from R.A. Salvatore's body of work. This is a character that's been around for longer than Magic the Gathering has been around. Atypical for a drow to leave the shelter and shadow of the Underdark and to go about finding adventure above ground. Also very unusual for a male drow to be a powerful character in drow society. And of course has had many dealings with the city of Menzoberranzan, which is the drow capital of the Underdark, and along with his pet Black Panther, Guinevere, as we've decided.
Is it different? Am I wrong? Tell me if I'm wrong.
Guinevere. It's Guinevere. It's close enough.
Okay.
It's good enough. But also it's a name that appears in a book, so it's pronounced however you want to pronounce it. But yeah, I mean, this is a character that's been around. I think it's older than I am. I'm pretty sure Drizzt's novels were from the mid-'80s.
As a 3/3 double striker that makes a 4/1 with trample and has the other ability on top of all of that, an ability that kind of keeps going even if that token is killed or sacrificed for some reason, is kind of fantastic.
Yeah, this is a big creature for, I mean, it's 5 mana, so you're definitely getting your money's worth. This thing attacks for 10, right? 3+3+4. And then if they kill only one of the creatures, you're still getting a lot of value. This is a very powerful card. Reminds me of Tolsimir Wolfblood in some ways, although it doesn't have the same impact the turn it comes in, but hits a lot harder.
Yeah. So that was our D&D previews. There'll be obviously lots more as we move forward and whatnot. But we're going to move here to Modern Horizons 2, where there's no breaks. We get to do whatever we want here. I don't know if I have an exact order marked out in the doc, but I wanted to start with Dakkon here. Yeah, so Dakkon Blackblade turns out is a Planeswalker? Was a Planeswalker? Sure. I didn't catch the first conversation around this card. Dakkon Shadowslayer is the mythic legendary Planeswalker from the set. It's Esper mana, black, blue, and white, for a 0 loyalty Planeswalker that says when it enters the battlefield, it enters with a number of loyalty counters on him equal to the number of lands you control. Oh boy. +1, Surveil 2. And if you don't remember what that means, it means look at the top 2 cards of your library. You can put any of them on top of your library or in the graveyard. -3, exile target creature. And -6, you may put an artifact card from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield. What is happening?
Yeah, so I was really happy to see Surveil come back. You know, that was a mechanic that was kind of unique to Guilds of Ravnica. That was the new Dimir mechanic. I love that it's exile target creature. It doesn't have any sort of conditions to it. And basically giving you, I mean, the ability to put something from your hand, like kind of a show and tell effect, is awesome. And this is a Planeswalker that's probably even better in the mid to late game because the more lands you have. And I think that's also a neat way to kind of prevent this from seeing play in older formats that typically don't run a lot of lands, where when I first saw this, I was like, oh, we could cheat this out in Vintage, but if you have a bunch of Moxen, you still just have like, what, a 1 loyalty Planeswalker? Like, it's still not great. And so I do think there are some nice little safety valves to, keep it from being too broken. Obviously, it has a lot of name recognition. Older players like us are automatically going to know that name. I think newer players might clue into Blackblade Reforged as to, oh, that's who that guy is. And so I think this is a great card to be the face of your set. And to get Richard Kane Ferguson back is just...
I was just about to say, holy cow, that artwork is amazing.
Yeah, the original Dakkon Blackblade art was Richard Kane Ferguson's, and his whole mythos is around the Blackblade. He was a forger when the demonic planeswalker Gaedrone Dihada came and said, hey, make a sword that would kill literally everything, and then, oh, by the way, suck the souls out of whatever it kills. And then he did that, and once he did that, he didn't want to give the sword away, and Gaedrone basically triggered the spark inside of Dakkon, and he planeswalked away with the sword, and thus began the tale of the Black Blade. And yeah, he's an indelible character. The ability of coming in with as many loyalty as lands you control obviously calls back to the original, as does the casting cost. It's just a lovely callback and a cool card.
Well, speaking of callbacks, let's move on to our next card here, Timeless Dragon, which calls back to Eternal Dragon, back when we had to pay a lot more mana for all of these cool stats. Timeless Dragon is 2 white and 3 generic mana for a rare 5/5 dragon with flying, plain cycling of 2 generic mana, just like good old-fashioned Eternal Dragon used to have.
Right.
But it has Eternalize of 2 white and 2 generic mana, which means for 2 white and 2 generic mana, you exile this card from your graveyard, you make a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 4/4 black zombie dragon with no mana cost, Eternalize as a sorcery. So this card has all the callbacks, scratches all the nostalgic itches for me. I think this card's fantastic.
I'm really excited to see this card. I've said before, my first Modern deck was Living End, and so I remember going through Gatherer at the time, because this was before Scryfall, and I remember trying to look up all of the cool cycling cards that were out there, and always being a little disappointed, because I was like, oh man, Eternal Dragon's not Modern legal, and Living End has made a bit of a comeback recently, and so I wouldn't be surprised if they tried it out in that version, and even if you aren't able to enact the Living End plan, you can still just say to heck with it and bring it back, and I think that's cool.
This is a 4/4 flyer for 4 mana that also gets you a plains, really. I mean, it calls back not only to Eternal Dragon, obviously, Eternal Lies on a dragon, and also the plane cycling and all that, but it also kind of calls back to Exalted Angel, because it lets you sort of cheat the mana cost a little bit to get a little bit quicker. Instead of paying the full retail, you cycle it, you pay a little bit early, sort of like your forecast. What's the new ability from Cauldron?
Foretell?
Foretell, that's the one. Where you're kind of foretelling it a little bit and getting the discount.
Yeah,
it's also, I was just going to say, it's also important to note that Eternalized cards have seen play in older formats, particularly in standstill builds, because you're not casting this. And so if you decide to play a turn 2 standstill, you cycle for your land, you put that in the graveyard, and then 4 mana is not unreasonable in a standstill deck. And so you can just sort of pay the 4, there's your 4/4, your 5/5, and then you beat them to death. And if they decide to cast anything, well, then you get 2 cards for your trouble. And so I think this is fun.
What I love... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you have a white-blue control mirror that's all counter spells, this is a great card to sideboard into.
We've seen Sacred Cat in Vintage.
Yeah, we've seen less. What I like most about it, and they mentioned that in the sort of the reveal, was that they're taking 2 very different mechanics from 2 very different sets across like a dozen years or whatever it is, and sticking them together. And you get to see, hey, plane cycling from freaking Scourge or whatever to now to having that. This is awesome. I love that.
It's such a good combo.
So we talked about there was a possibility, may or may not, put Rishadan Port into Modern. Well, they didn't. But they kind of did. Rishadan Dockhand is a merfolk, y'all. It's a 1 blue mana rare 1/2 merfolk with Island Walk. Remember Island Walk?
Yeah.
And it has 1 generic mana, tap target land.
So this actually plays very well with the merfolk strategy. Merfolk do rely on land denial. They like to spreading seize your lands so that you can't cast anything. And this is another great way to kind of keep you tapped down while, they play a bunch of lords and they kind of overwhelm you with the Mutavault. So I'd be surprised if this didn't see play. We've said before that the strength of tribal strategies really relies on these good 1-drops to make it happen. And so I think this is fine. I like this.
Absolutely. I mean, Merfolk's 1-drops right now are Curse Catcher and Ether Vial.
Maybe Kosi's Trickster if you're feeling frisky. Or
okay. I mean, but this is going in, I mean, the professor's got to be happy that there's another playable 1-drop. It has 2 toughness.
Oh, yeah.
We've heard they're getting a Merfolk God, too.
Yeah, there's a legendary Merfolk God in the set.
I also am confused and perplexed, but also interested as to why this card has Island Walk. What was the design where we were
Merfolk, right?
We've decided, I guess it's super late game, we don't care about tapping islands or lands down anymore, so now being slightly maybe unblockable is relevant.
I mean, using Spreading Seas to make it unblockable is pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Right?
Well, the lords are probably going to give you Island Walk anyways, but I mean, just to have it on it, I think is really just a kind of a cute addition.
I love the philosophy that they basically said, look, we went to the tier 2, tier 2.5 tier decks, and we said, what do you need to be better?
Good.
And like, here is a card
Smart.
the Merfolk deck absolutely needs as a 1-drop to get started.
We didn't put any other creature types on it, just in case. No pirates.
Okay.
I kind of wish this were a Merfolk pirate, but whatever.
So now we get to something stupid. And I mean, crazy.
Can I do this?
Aaron gets to do all this one because, Lord God, this card's insane. Go ahead. Just wherever you want to start, just go.
God. Okay. So this card is called Grief. It is 2 colorless and 2 black. It's an elemental incarnation with menace, 3 power and 2 toughness. When Grief enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it, and that player discards that card. But I'm not paying for this. I'm not here to pay for my spells. No. You can also just evoke it, which means that you exile a black card from your hand, it enters the battlefield, and you sacrifice it after. This is going to see play. This is going all the way to the top to Legacy to Vintage. So let me walk you through it. So first and foremost, you can look for this with Once Upon a Time. Like, let's start there. You can search for this with Once Upon a Time. This is a 2nd creature spell for Vengevine. This triggers your bridge from below. So if you pitch a couple bridges and you're just like, whoop, there's your Grief, you get bridge tokens. You can also sacrifice this in response to Altar of Dementia. Altar of Dementia is still legal in Modern. This is a creature, so it can't be countered with Force of Negation. It can't be countered with Flusterstorm. This card is hilarious. And it's funny because I had taken a nap when the preview show was going on, and I woke up to all of these alerts on my phone, and I was like, oh my God, what did I do? What did I say? Don't sue me. And people were like, Aaron, you got to see this card. And I didn't get it at first. And I was like, oh, it's just unmasked. Like, okay. And people were like, no. And then they literally spelled it out for me. And I was like, oh my God. And so the Vintage Discord lit up about this. A lot of the Eternal players on Twitter were just finding new, neat corner cases. Thorn of Amethyst, that's a creature spell. Yeah. And so this card is just hilarious. I cannot wait to break this thing in half. And I'm probably going to replace my unmasks with this. I think it's beautiful.
Like, turn 1, while the vote triggers on the stack, Ephemerate, you get their 2 best cards, you keep a 3/2 menace. Next turn you get to get their next best card again. Yeah. That is just ridiculous. That's bananas.
Yeah, I would never cast an Ephemerate. That's a little bit beneath me, but everything else is just all the other things you can do.
You can also,
Aaron,
remove
never
this
say
thing
never.
you can also remove this thing to your Icarids. Like, this thing just does all of the things that you could possibly want a card to do. It's unbelievably powerful. Like, usually when Aaron gets tagged and it's like, ooh, Dredge got a new toy, it's like, no, that card costs mana. Right? That card is... No.
Beneath her, clearly.
Replaces Unmask.
Oof.
Or you can play it in addition to Unmask.
Yeah.
Yeah, cut to 6 weeks from now where you're like, so I sleeved up 4 Ephemerates, and it turns out it's incredible, and I couldn't turn away all the value, and it was clear.
I think blinking strategies are just a pedestrian. I just don't really like them. So
yeah, but on this creature, this creature is ridiculous. Yeah. Okay, so this card's insane. Clearly one of the Chase Mythics. My God, that card's going to be $1 million.
Yeah. And it's probably a cycle. Like, just imagine what other broken cards are going to be on green, blue, black, and white.
The rumor is that there's a whole cycle of these things, and we'll see what happens. But we got to talk about new Suspend cards with no mana cost. Someone called this like the perfect, not even just the perfect spell, but look at that artwork and look at the old frame artwork. That's right out of 1996, y'all. Like, I'm feeling it, like in a good way.
Yeah.
Profane Tutor is our new Suspend Demonic Tutor. It marks that it's a black card. It's a rare sorcery. You suspend 2 for 1 black and 1 generic mana. So rather than cast this card from your hand, you pay a black and a generic mana and exile it with 2 time counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, you remove a time counter. When the last is removed, you cast it without paying its mana cost. And of course, much like Demonic Tutor, you search your library for a card, put it into your hand, and then shuffle.
This is very cool.
Yeah.
Like, this seems like it's not broken somehow.
Yeah, it seems strangely fair.
It seems good, but fair. Like, this is the kind... I mean, obviously, I would want to try this in, like, a Storm deck or an Ad Nauseam deck or something like that, but it seems perfectly reasonable. I also am interested by the 3 different printings here. We have reminder text on the first one, we have no reminder text on the second one, and we have flavor text on the third one, which, by the way, references Gaedron Dihada.
Yeah. I was hoping Evan would pronounce it.
Oh, sorry.
No, didn't make me do that.
Yeah,
Lord.
what's that planeswalker's name that hired Dakkon to forge it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Gaedron Dihada.
Jerome.
Yep, there you go. But yeah, it seems strangely fair. I mean, it comes off Suspend turn 4, like a bunch of like Lotus Bloom does, like Ancestral Vision does. So
right.
It seems very cool.
As Foretold has always been a thing.
True.
Shardless Agent is still a thing. I think it's great, and I do love that they're going back to the old borders. It's clear that there's an audience for them, and those are going to be hot.
Very, very nice. And that old border it just sings to 16-year-old Evan just getting his first Magic cards and trying to build a deck, and I got to see RKF's artwork all over it, and I loved it. That was terrific. So if you haven't watched our top 10 this week, which was what would we choose that isn't in Modern to put in Modern, I basically lose my mind. There are, Ruben's with standard good decisions. Aaron's got something sensible, and I'm over here just throwing
burn it all down.
Everything in Evan's
just
top
grenades, just tossing them. It's just fantastic. So I lit the dynamite and I said, "Put Entomb in Modern." And here comes Unmarked Grave.
Yeah.
Unmarked Grave. And it's no Entomb, but it's not that bad. Unmarked Grave is a black... Yeah, as a black and a generic mana for a rare sorcery. Search your library for a non-legendary card, put that card into your graveyard, and then shuffle.
So to be clear, Reanimator decks, have always. I mean, obviously the best creatures to reanimate are legendary. You want Elishnorn, you want Iona, you want Griselbrand, but Reanimator decks also don't like to deal with Karakas, and so it's not uncommon to settle for a Tidespout Tyrant, or settle for a Grave Titan, or settle for an Ashen Rider. Those are things that you will take, and so this is quite good. I'm excited to see this, but what I really want to know is what's on the other side of this, because if we're putting something in the graveyard on 2, what are we getting back with it? Because a lot of the reanimation spells that we've been getting are 4 and 5, and so it's we getting a 3-drop? Because 2 into 3 is really where you want to be. You don't want to go 2 and then you're sitting there for 2 or 3 turns while you find your reanimation spells. So I want to know what we're going to be. What's the payoff for this? That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah, I'm also more interested in. I mean, Reanimator's great, but as Aaron put earlier, it's a little pedestrian. So I'm trying to put Life from the Loam in the graveyard.
I will take it.
I'm trying to put what are some other cool things?
What I would note is that
those are banned, but
they have said that the black-white pair in terms of limited play is about reanimation. So my guess is that there's probably going to be a Zombify that costs black-white or white-black. So they could power it up with a lot of pips on there, but they make it that 3 mana. Here's your 2. Here's your 3 in the set. I don't know if that's a thing, but it makes sense to me because just based on what you just said, which is what is your
Maybe
turn 3 play?
Give us a 3 mana reanimate.
Yeah, I can see it. Moving on here, so there are storm cards in this set, and I don't mean something says it counts spells whatever. No, there are cards with the storm mechanic in this set, and there are payoffs for the storm mechanic in this set, and you gotta see Thrasta. Thrasta Tempest's Roar is a legendary dinosaur, y'all. A mythic 12 mana dinosaur that you are never paying 12 mana for.
Hopefully not.
Let's hope not. It's 2 green, 10 generic mana for a 7/7. Like I said, legendary dinosaur. It's mythic. It costs 3 generic mana less to cast for each other spell cast this turn. Okay. 3 spells, which means this is a 3 mana 7/7. Yeah. It also has trample and haste and trample over planeswalkers.
Yep.
Which does exactly what you think it does. Excess damage goes to the player. And Thrasta Tempest Roar has hexproof as long as it enters the battlefield this turn. Your planeswalker is going to die. That's what this card says. It's going to die right now.
I want to build this so bad.
Yeah.
Goodness. This
what
card
a
is
cool
bananas.
Card.
Yeah.
What an amazing card. This card is perfect. The ability of trample over planeswalkers. They didn't mess around. They didn't try to rename things. They did what they did with Mill, which is people call it Mill. They went, what do we call this ability? They say trample over planeswalkers. Did it. Put a stamp on it. Send it to the printers.
Done.
Done here.
Yep.
Also, I'm looking forward to playing a deck that has 4 Burning Tree Emissaries in it.
Oh.
And drawing only that, and then going Burning Tree, Burning Tree, Burning Tree, Burning Tree, stupid dinosaur. And it'll happen one time, and I'll be fine with it.
Oh my god!
You'll get that one time in your life. Take pictures, gram it. Do what you got to do. This Thrasta, this is like one of those cards that it's like a Timmy dream, but it's also the dream of everyone who's ever built a Storm Cube. And you know who you are. I know you're out there. I've seen them. This is what you have been waiting for, is cards that reward Storm, and they're giving them to you. And
I'm excited about this. I'm curious, and I assume this works like I think it does with the commander tax, where, if you instead of paying 2 extra, I assume if you just cast another spell, you kind of do that. And so, I love this. I've been itching to build a mono green commander for quite some time. I thought I wanted to do Eudora, and I couldn't quite piece it together, but this is something, I look at this and I think challenge accepted. Like, I would play this.
This card is very scary. This card gives me Hogak vibes. You know what I'm saying? It does a lot. Okay. It's hard to deal with. It's a lot of damage. It comes out of nowhere. Like, this is a card. I'm not saying it's Hogak. I'm just saying.
Though. I mean, so if you were to go Basking Root Walla,
like Lotus Petal, stuff like that, like it just...
6.
It don't take much.
Convoke's really what pushed that over the edge. There's something here. You're right.
There is definitely some scariness. That's all I'm saying. So speaking of, on the opposite side of scariness is silliness. At which point they say there's like up to 5 cards in the set that have coin flipping on them.
Love it.
Such as Yusri, Fortune's Flame, which is also the bundle promo. Yusri Fortune's Flame is a red, blue, and a generic mana for a 2/3 rare legendary Efreet with flying. And when it attacks, you choose a number between 1 and 5. Flip that many coins. For each flip you win, draw a card. For each flip you lose, it deals 2 damage to you. If you win 5 flips this way, which by the way is like 3% chance, you may cast spells from your hand this turn without paying their mana cost. You get a free omniscience.
Yeah. Why are they giving me a choice? I'm choosing 5 every time.
Every time. Just say flip 5.
Every single time.
Why would you say anything else?
Why would you give me a choice? Why would you say you could choose between 1 and 5? I could be at 2 life, and I'm choosing 5. This card is hilarious. I want to build this with... This is my Krark Thumb
this is the Krark Thumb deck.
Yeah. I'm super on board. I'm so ready for more coin flip madness.
I do like the art on the right, like that open that version. I think is my favorite one.
Yeah, the promo version is really nice.
Yeah,
but this is one of those, like, it's silly, it's funny. Like, Commander players are going to love it. You're going to build decks around it. This is the Krark's second thumb or whatever deck. Like, this is how they get started. So it was time to talk about money, all right? Like, Modern Horizons 2 is doing some cute stuff, it's doing some powerful stuff, but at some point we also need to cash in some checks. And God knows they have waited as long as they possibly could have to cash in Cabal Coffers. We thought we would never see it, ladies and gentlemen. Over $100 for this land. God knows what it's going to be after. I'm guessing $50 or so.
Uncommon.
Yeah, as an uncommon, lol. But now it's a Mythic. Cabal Coffers, Mythic land, 2 generic mana, tap, add 1 black for each swamp you control. Obviously, you're going to use Urborg and whatnot for this, but my God, we got it. Finally.
Yeah, the older versions of Cabal Coffers have been sitting at $90 to $100, depending on which one you have, which is funny because I remember paying $30 for this and I was indignant. And the way that MTG Finance works is you just sit on something long enough and then before you know it, it's worth something. And so this is a card that people have been asking for a really, really long time, and this is going to be in Modern, and so that opens up a lot of doors for mono black control. Obviously this with Urborg is huge, and so I'm anxious to see if it makes the cut.
I hope so.
Right, this is the exact poster child for if you need this card, if you want this card, if you're going to play with this card, get them right now. Because they're never going to be cheaper than they are right this moment, whether it's on pre-order or when they first release and there's that race to the bottom on TCG Player or your favorite website or coolstuffinc.com, because we only have so many to sell or whatever, but get them where you can get them. Because remember I mentioned at one point I got Entombs for $5 out of Double Masters, now they're $20 because it was just too cheap. So these things will come out probably $40, maybe $50, and they're going to go right back up to $80 and then right back up to $100 plus a couple years from now. Like we've seen this happen many times. We know how the story goes. But this is a huge injection of cash into the set. Speaking of injections of cash, one of the things I definitely threw some kudos Wizards' way, which was they knew that the old border stuff back in Time Spiral Remastered, which is right there, they knew it was going to be hot fire. They knew it looked gorgeous. They knew they liked it. And so, by God, they went all in, and they certainly did. And kudos to them, because 40 of the old border cards in Modern Horizons 2 are reprints from the original Modern Horizons, and check out Giver of Runes and Force of Negation. Oh my god.
This is the only reason I can think of that they didn't put Urza in Time Spiral Remastered. So that's gotta be in Modern Horizons 2.
Well, there's no old border planeswalkers, so are they going to try to cross that boundary?
Urza's a creature.
Urza's a creature.
Oh, Urza's the legendary creature.
Urza, Lord High Artificer. Yeah.
Yes.
The one that I said famously was never going to see modern play.
Right. But yeah, I mean, these are gorgeous. These are insane. Obviously, these are going to be $1 million each. These are how you inject the money into the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
And this is, like I said many times before, this is aiming at a very specific audience where, there are people out there, particularly the ones who play older formats, that would never buy a Magic card otherwise with the newer frame. They would never go anywhere near it. But you slap this specific frame on it and they are pulling out their wallets. And so, if the goal is to, kind of appeal to everybody or to different audiences, that is a very specific audience that has the money to burn and will be happy to pay these prices.
Yeah, and these are only found in collector packs. There's going to be an article coming out on Monday that's going to have like how you can get everything and where everything is, because we now need giant spreadsheets to figure out where Magic cards are, because that's where we live now.
Yeah, I was trying to buy a box of this the other day, or like pre-buy one, and I couldn't tell the difference between the boxes. And I was like, Evan, which box do I want?
And they don't want you to, and they want I can imagine they want that confusion. They're okay with that. And B, they're still making way too many set boxes, set booster boxes rather than draft booster boxes.
So remind me the difference.
The set booster boxes are the ones that have 30 packs instead of 36. They have a foil in each pack and up to 4 rares in each pack.
And if I want the 36.
Right, but you want the 36 draft boosters, which is you draft them and they have 1 rare in the back and they could have a foil and yada yada. The normal packs as we're used to.
When you think of a booster box, you think of
draft.
Okay, because that's the one that appears to be sold out at Cool Stuff. I can get a set one, but I can't get a draft one.
And that's a problem going forward, is they're printing fewer of those draft booster boxes.
Okay, and draft's what I want. Okay, got it.
Right. Now, so Cool Stuff and many other retailers, this isn't like some huge secret or anything, but Cool Stuff and other retailers, we will put some a little bit up at a time, because the market is all over the place and people get excited and prices go nuts. And so, check back and use restock alerts and stuff on, again, Cool Stuff or any sites you like, to find this stuff, because draft booster boxes are starting to be more expensive, even though they're cheaper on the distributor level, because they're not making enough of them. They're just not high enough supply. So it doesn't matter what the price is on the distributor level. Like, players want them and they'll pay for them. So that is what that is. All right, here. So we've moved past all of our previews. They were super cool cards. I'm very excited for both of those sets.
Absolutely.
We couldn't possibly see a banned and restricted announcement coming. We could not possibly see that one coming after a weekend being completely dominated by Thassa's Oracle and Tainted Pact. That was not fun. It had like a 60% win rate.
Yeah.
Like, its lowest win rate was 58% against itself. So that was fun.
And it's funny, the way that we knew something was coming was somebody had discovered a link. Apparently there was a link that just showed up, and the link was broken. Like the web address was there, the URL was there, but it didn't seem to go anywhere. And so coming off of that weekend, there was already talk about something needing to get banned, but then the article came out and we spent about a day or so kind of ruminating on, okay, well, what are you going to do? Are there going to be any other surprises there? And then of course Oracle got banned. And, there's been a lot of talk about the design of Thassa's Oracle and whether or not it's good design. We've seen the impact in older formats as well, where, Doomsday used to be an incredibly difficult deck to pilot, one of the most difficult decks to pilot. And that's not to say that it's not still difficult, but Thassa's Oracle really has taken a lot of the decisions out of that deck. It really has affected the ways that you can beat that win condition is very hard to interact with. You pretty much have to run just like stifles or something. And so we're seeing its impact in Legacy and Doomsday, and it's problematic there, but I feel like we're able to deal with it better than they are in Historic. And it's obvious in Historic they just didn't have the tools, and it was just very clearly a problem.
Yeah, the format's just not sort of big enough in its britches to kind of take care of Thassa's Oracle. But again, this is sort of how their website is set up, which is if this article is going to exist and you type in the URL for it, it'll say something like you don't have authorization to see it. But if it's not there, it doesn't exist, it'll give you a totally different error message. So in a way, it's kind of a cute way for Wizards to kind of like say they're announcing an announcement, but they don't announce the announcement. They make the players type in the date.
They don't have to make comments on it.
You don't have to bother anymore. We'll go in there and try the URLs. It's fine.
Yeah.
We'll sit around and pontificate about it. All right, so let's move on here to there is going to be a new historic anthology. Erin cares so much, you guys. She really cares a whole lot. It's fine.
When the Pioneer dailies get replaced with historic dailies, which is gonna happen.
Pioneer Challenge still didn't fire.
What I'm saying.
It's not, and it's sad. But the historic anthology is coming. This is the one that's going to bring a whole bunch of cool cards. I have them here on. You can follow the links in the show notes and whatnot. All the commands are coming. That's pretty cool.
Okay.
The cycle of commands. Dragonstorm showing up. Elvish Norn showing up.
Oh, they get Relica Progenitus. That's nice.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
I mean,
we just don't have that
really
stuff.
that bad compared to what there is already? I don't know.
Like Ray of Revelation's kind of cool. I think that's really
Ray of
neat.
Revelation's cool. We get Ancient Grudge. Age of the North is a card that exists.
Like, why is Merfolk Looter here? I don't know.
Grizzly Salvage. Whoop whoop.
Trash for Treasure is exciting for me. I think there's a God Pharaoh's Gift deck that could happen with Trash for Treasure.
Yes.
Why is Reverse Engineer here? I don't know.
They just
Why is Whirler Rogue here?
There's
I don't know.
Stifle. They give you Stifle after they get rid of Thassa's Oracle.
They just pick stuff totally at random. Also, Dragonstorm is going to be a hilarious deck. There are no rituals on
There's
Arena?
no rituals, but if you get this off for at least 2, that red-white dragon gets to play another spell when it attacks the Lorehold dragon.
Oh, Velomachus Lorehold? Yeah. We can
that's a cool
Dragonstorm off of our Velomachus.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty
I like
neat.
that.
So-
We can get some Terror of the Peaks action. I'm on board.
Yeah. So the biggest, I think, thing of release of this is that all the Praetors are here, the Elish Norn and Erna Brask.
Which led to our next topic.
Oh, yes. Which leads us to moving. Well, we're not talking about that quite yet, but it's in Desperate Ravings, and we'll get to it. But either way, they're printing these, and they're printing these in Historic or whatever. So they'll be in Arena. That's neat. They'll be showing up, I think, on the 27th is that date. Let me take a look here. Yep, on May 27th. And the Unstable and Unsanctioned lands on Arena are coming back for sale on that date, which is cool, because I missed out buying the unsanctioned ones, and I wanted those. So that's nice. There was a post on Reddit, and there was also a video that showed, this is from Good Morning Magic, from what Gavin's been doing, where he talks about there being no pre-constructed commander decks for Modern Horizons 2. That's not a big surprise or anything, but it was something he mentioned. But he noted that the Dungeons and Dragons set has 4 Precons with 17 exclusive cards per deck, which is pretty neat. But then they're also saying, well, maybe 17 was a little bit too much, and Innistrad Midnight Hunt and Innistrad Crimson Vow, they'll each have 2 Precon commander decks with 15 exclusive cards per deck. So that was a meaningful number for those decks, but no information about that at this point. So, and also a lot about the philosophy of Commander was seen as too complicated and too scary for new players, when in reality it's not that at all, and that's how players introduce their friends. And they just answer questions as they come up.
Yeah, so to kind of delve into that a little bit. So what Gavin is really saying here is that for a while there were specific decks that were meant to bring new people into the game. And I remember working at PAX one year and being given these sort of starter decks to teach people Magic. And what they realized was that, because Commander is sort of an entry point anyways, let's just make the Commander decks the starter decks, essentially. So it sounds like they've scrapped these sort of welcome decks, and these are kind of the welcome decks right now. And so I think that's a really great move. I think it's obvious they're listening to the player base, and it's also really great to know that Commander is really the first step for a lot of people, and it's nice to see the format be seen that way and to be fulfilling that role.
I mean, we literally have seen them, eschew pro high level competitive Magic and say,
they're not eschewing it.
Well, I mean, for the near term,
Well, no, saying, you're still doing that again. The competitive Magic still exists. It still exists. Like, let's just start there. All that they've done is they've taken away the top tier, which means that you can't earn a salary from Magic. But there are still going to be Pro Tours. There's still going to be Worlds. We need to do away with this narrative that one has replaced the other. They're still existing. Like, they both still exist.
Okay, so they just killed their Pro League, all right? Their Pro League died.
Yeah, sure, okay.
The Pro League, they pay you salary died. I get that. What I'm saying is that was they cut off that Pro League arm, and they said, we're going to instead, it's Commander time or Commander focus. We have Commanders for every deck. Commander. The new sets aren't even called standard sets. They're called Premier sets or whatever, and Commander can be the focus, and this is just one of those results of that thinking, is that we talk more about Commander and see more Commander stuff than we do, I don't know, other format stuff. as it were.
It's just a million Commander Precons, though.
There are a million.
Good.
And for what it's worth, they've all been worth it. And if you have pre-ordered them every single time, I'm talking like every single year except like 2017 or something when they were terrible. But like every other year but that one time, they were amazing for pre-order value. So if you want them, you should pre-order them now.
Aren't they like $25?
Something like that. Depends on where you get them. If you buy them,
how much could a Commander deck cost? $25?
Yeah. How much could it possibly cost?
How much is a house in Manhattan? Like I don't know, $10K?
Yeah.
All right. A cause for Commander is coming. Aaron, can you tell us a little bit about this one?
I don't know what this is.
Then I don't either. Okay.
What is it? A cause
I threw
for
it in
Commander?
there.
Oh, I know what this is.
All right, Ruben, you
vaguely. I vaguely know what this is.
Okay.
This is a charity stream.
Yes.
With Ellie of the Vale, Tappy Toe Claws, Olivia Gilbert Hicks, and Elias V. Where they are going to be playing Commander for charity and doing it on a live stream. That's basically the extent of what I know about it.
Yeah, I believe Alias has been trying to break into Commander content. I've seen her post some things to Twitter of like looking for games, looking for opponents, and so that's a cool little pivot. I like that.
Yeah. It's a trying to be a new show, to be specific. It's not.
Interesting.
Not a one-time thing, but we'll see.
Okay, fair enough. Moving on here, there were some, as soon as it loads today, there were some MTG Arena announcements that were coming, and this is kind of what we get now. We don't really get, remember we used to get monthly videos where they would like talk to us and walk us through the features and like show the little pets. And,
I don't remember that. No.
Yeah, they don't, it doesn't matter because they don't do it anymore, which is unfortunate, but kind of is what it is. But the stuff that they're doing on Arena basically is kind of tying up the Strixhaven stuff. They got the College Cup stuff that they're doing.
Oh, is that the thing you were kind of critical of?
Yes, I absolutely hated it. It was the idea that you play a 100-card standard deck, which, if I recall correctly, the last time they did this, where they give you a treasure token each turn, is that you play Singleton. That way you can't just load your deck up with a bunch of ramp and 4 Ugins and be done with it, because that's exactly what I did, and it was not a lot of fun. So that was horrible. But I hope they can fix that and never do that again. But it goes on and talks about the draft challenges that are coming, which are pretty cool. The return of the lands.
Cool.
Yeah. No,
the sleeves are neat.
Sleeves are neat. Okay.
The college sleeves.
Yeah, the college sleeves are cool, and we're going to get one of those depending on who wins, like the overall College Cup, based on everybody's
We're only going to get one of those?
That's what I saw. It says you'll receive one of these from the winning college. I know, it's kind of BS, isn't it?
Stupid.
We can't get all the JPEGs. There's zeros and ones in databases.
You're going to show us what a graphic designer made. Spent their hard-earned hours slaving away in the pits at Wizards of the Coast, and we're only going to get one of them?
You know they're going to
out of here.
You know they're going to sell the other 4 immediately.
The pits.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
That's the pivot. Is well, you can buy them. Lol.
Spending the day in the sleeve design mines, harvesting hard-earned sleeve ore.
I mean, to be fair, that is how it feels to me to make cards on Arena. Like I'm in the mines, just
grinding away. Well, as I mentioned before, the unsanctioned and the unstable lands are coming back. I didn't get the unstables last time, and I'm totally getting them because they're awesome and they look terrific. So get in on that if you want to. Arena just keeps on chugging.
We still don't have Historic Brawl year-round, and I hate you for not giving it to us. Why? I just want to play Arcades 24/7. Just let me do it.
Just that. Moving on here real quickly, we could talk about the Lucas Esper thing if you'd like, but ultimately, pro players are retiring for obvious reasons. But the WPN updates actually came out. Now, one of the things that I had essentially heard was that a lot of some of the announcements that they had made about open play, particularly about open play returning, had not necessarily been communicated to the stores before they were communicated on the stream. And so there were a lot of questions and concerns. And this is you don't have to run in-store events if you don't want to. Totally voluntary. They're not going to penalize them, if you don't, because certainly, in the before times, Wizards wanted wanted you to hit certain metrics and have certain amount of events per month in order for you to get, certain levels of stuff. And that's not the case, which is a good thing. And there's a whole bunch of other rules essentially saying you can kind of craft your play experience to what makes you and the players that you have feel safe.
Yeah, so they're saying that you can impose any additional health and safety requirements for entering your store. They're also saying that you can modify the tournament rules and procedures to make the environment more safe. Like, for example, you can make it so that players can only shuffle and cut their decks as opposed to normal tournament procedure, which means that your opponent has to cut your deck after you fetch or something like that. Cards must remain on the owner's side of the table. You're not allowed to physically touch the opponent's cards, whereas normally you could ask and reach across and look at someone's graveyard. They're saying that if you want to modify those, you can make it so that doesn't happen anymore, which makes sense.
Right. So all of this is essentially saying that, yes, stores, we may kind of went a little fast there on the announcing open play thing, but also we can slow down and talk about what you really need that's custom to you and your player base to make it go well.
They're also saying that you... Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, I like that this page exists, that the tournament organizers and the store owners can say, hey, I have this website that says you have to wear a mask to come in my store, or whatever.
They're also saying that you can host in-store events. The last part was you can host in-store events for private groups, which is something we've seen movie theaters take advantage of. It's surprisingly cheap to rent a movie theater. I think it's like $100, and you can bring like 20 people with you. And so, if you are not necessarily comfortable opening your store to the public, you can offer a private event that you might be able to, feel a bit more comfortable with, or it might be more easier to institute some safety protocols. You can also host events off hours as well. And so, it is giving some stores some peace of mind and some freedom as to how they want to do this.
Yeah. So let's talk about things that make people angry.
This was funny.
Into Desperate Ravings.
This was funny to me.
It's funny sad, I think, in many ways. Max Plays MTG Twitter account, Max Khan, who's been a Magic judge for a very long time, when he saw that the Phyrexian Praetors were going to be the Phyrexian language Phyrexian Praetors were going to be part of an upcoming secret lair, he a little upset. All caps literally is nothing safe from reprint protection, because famously a $500-esque judge foil promo of the Phyrexian language Elish Norn was the only way you could get a Phyrexian language, really anything in real life. But now they're going to make a secret lair with all of them featuring it, and he's very upset, and I can understand why. But I think, and a lot of other people, not just, me over here, had basically told him that this is the part where you have to realize that Wizards is a corporation, and they're there to make profit and revenues, and the judge's feelings don't really impact any of those decisions.
Yeah, I mean, you could acknowledge that the feelings are valid while also acknowledging that it is business as usual for Wizards. And, if they feel that they can get more by making this a secret layer and introducing it to more people, they're going to do that. And so I think both of those things can be true. Yeah.
I think that it is... I get the frustration.
Can certainly hurt.
But also... Every week I tell you, you go to the dragon that's sitting on the pile of gold. And the dragon is hoarding its gold, and it says, how do we make the most money? Well, these are the cards that we can reprint right now and put them in sets and make the most money. We can do it with Cabal Coffers. Great, do it. Put it in Modern Horizons. We can do it with the Phyrexian language Elish Norn. Great, do it. Put it in the secret lair. But we're going to piss off a lot of people. I'm sorry, that doesn't matter to my pile of gold.
That's right.
I want it reprinted. So, I mean, it is very predictable that this was going to happen, in my opinion.
Very unfortunate, but unfortunately also very predictable. I will not choose to kick Magic Legends while it's down. It's down enough. I will not do that. I will refrain.
Oh my god.
But I will turn the corner here to the finisher. 6 weeks ago today, we announced the Magic Mike's
6
podcast.
years ago.
6 years ago.
6 years ago today. What did I say? 6 days ago?
It even says years. I was like, did I write the wrong word?
Nope, I screwed it up. 6 years ago today, we announced the Magic Mike's podcast. The week that was in MTG news for the week That was Modern Masters 2015 packaging and collation issues, the old location of RIW burning down, and a Hearthstone Pro making the finals of an SCG Open. A lot has changed in 6 years. So now that we have this child we've raised together, what's next for our collective 6-year-old? Jesus, Ruben. Okay, Aaron.
What?
That's a setup, buddy. That's a setup.
Yeah, it's a setup.
It's good.
Well, most 6-year-old podcasts have lots of energy and will need time outdoors to burn it all off. Physical activity is important, so I'm looking forward to Magic Mike's new workout show, Magic Bikes, cycling through the week that was in MTG.
I love it. Ruben?
As our 6-year-old podcast increasingly experiences school, playdates, birthday parties, and other activities without a parent, they may want and need more attention and comfort at home. So we're happy to introduce our new line of kid-friendly YouTube content, starring Papa Orange, Mama Estrus, and Ruben Babiesler.
I am the unofficial aunt of Magic Twitter. I just want you to know that.
Very nice. While it's important to ensure your podcast is reaching developmental milestones on target, avoid comparing your produced content to all the other shows the same age. By age 6, some will be natural athletes and others will shine in music, and others will thrive in niche inside industry baseball, petty squabbling, and throwing shade.
That's us!
That's our podcast.
That's what you're signing up here every single week. And that ends another live episode of Magic Mike's. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me, and thank you to all of our listeners for giving us a wonderful 6 years, and here's to many more.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ruben.
Thanks. Have a good night, everybody.
Absolutely. Let's move on here to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsors, CardHoarder.com, and our newest sponsor, Alter Sleeves. Get yours at altersleeves.com/magicmikes. My co-hosts, Aaron Campbell and Ruben Bressler, you guys for watching or listening, and hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmikes. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mikes, on Twitter at Magic Mikes Cast, our Magic Mikes subreddit, and like the Magic Mikes page on Facebook. Or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.